Smith. Proline bottles are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a Proline unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
New year, new you? Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping can help make sure you keep that resolution this time. Our proven system combines kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition, along with our expert coaching to make sure you're moving forward toward your goals. The next 10-week challenge starts January 11th, but if you enroll now, you can start today and get a head start on those gains for no extra cost. Plus, head to fxblincoln.com and you can save $100. Don't wait. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill and 70th and Vine.
Looking for a financial partner that truly makes a difference? Modern Woodman is a member-owned fraternal financial services organization. We can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today. We'll see decreasing clouds throughout the day, but it will be breezy. We'll see a high around 32. Tonight, a chance of 4 rays, otherwise partly cloudy with light winds, a low near 22. And tomorrow, we'll see mainly sunny skies with light winds and a high around 36. And meteorologist Kyle Fletcher for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arens on the ones and twos. Going to go solo here on New Year's Eve. Keep you guys here locked in locally for the next 2 hours. So we'll go me solo for an hour, and then I'll have the former Husker himself, Demorny Pearsonell, former NFL player as well. I should add that to his resume. Will be joining me, as always, from 7 to 8. If you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685. I think what we'll do, since we got the entire hour, we'll go through some of the best moments of the year, favorite memories of this year for sports memories, that is. Then, obviously, we want to talk about the college football bowl games, college football playoffs. SEC, not a good look for them as these bowl games have gone on. We just saw Illinois beat South Carolina. So you got another Big Ten team beating up on another SEC team. I think right now it's 4-1. The only Big Ten team to lose to an SEC team was Iowa, which I'll be honest, that's the way I'd probably take it. They lose to Missouri by 3 points in that one. Otherwise, all the other Big Ten teams have been handling business versus an SEC opponent. So we'll go through some of those games. Obviously, Michigan, Alabama was another big one today. And then, of course, we'll dive into college football playoffs and then Husker basketball. I do want to dive into those guys as well, as St. John's just fell to Creighton today. So, again, for Creighton, they're kind of in a weird spot where you want to see that team actually start winning some of these bigger ball games because you want that to be a strong quad one win for Nebraska. And after Nebraska knocked off Creighton on the road, I think Creighton rattled off 3 straight losses after that. Now, again, they're playing some tough competition, but they've also had some pretty unexpected losses mixed in there. So they win this one versus St. John's. They do get another big game versus Murray State, I believe. Or excuse me, not Murray State, Marquette, number 8 Marquette up next. So you're kind of in a weird spot where you're rooting for Creighton, wanting them to win these big games here. But let's go ahead and do it. Let's go through these college football bowl games, and in particular, these Big Ten teams. So you saw Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl beat Alabama 19-13. That kind of puts the end of the conversation. Did the college football playoffs make a mistake by not getting another SEC team in there? You know, you could even make the argument for South Carolina at one point in time, Bama. Either way, what we've seen throughout these playoffs, yes, it's a little bit different because you're having some players opt out, but it goes both ways. Both teams are going to have the same issues. You're seeing all these SEC teams really struggle. It's bitter. It's not even bittersweet. It's just really sweet from this side, seeing the Big Ten really kind of take a stronghold of being the better conference this year. You can look at the SEC, you can look at their top teams, but Oregon's the only undefeated team left in the playoffs. And yes, I understand they've had some close calls. That Wisconsin game certainly wasn't the Ducks' day. I think they only pulled that win off by 3, and that was late in the season. Dude, it's not like that was an early game where Oregon was still trying to find their identity. That was late in the year, but they still found a way to win games. And that's kind of the difference you're seeing with these other quote-unquote juggernaut SEC teams. Like Georgia this year, for whatever reason, didn't have the same consistency. Alabama, in particular, at the quarterback position, with the Milrow, you just didn't know what version you were going to get. And then defense was not good at all for him. The problem with Vanderbilt, which apparently wasn't even an issue in this game versus Michigan, but they were very susceptible into getting into shootouts because their defense really struggled to stop anybody. This game, though, Alabama only scores 13 points versus a good Michigan defense. I think that was really the only thing that allowed Michigan to win games at all this year. Their offense was not great. You give credit to Sharon Moore, though, who stepped in. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh now with the Chargers in the NFL. Sharon Moore, interesting contract negotiations to kind of start out the year. Wasn't sure what they were going to do with him other than, yes, you're going to be the coach. We don't know how much we really want to pay you and how long of a deal we want to make it. Right off the bat there, Michigan looked like they were going to have just a really bad year. And it was, by all intents and purposes, a bad year. But then to end the year, not only beating your rival in Ohio State, and now you go ahead and beat Alabama, that's quite the cherry on top. So if you're Michigan, you're very excited. You obviously hit a little bit of a slump, I'm sure, in the middle of the season where you go from a national championship, a really dominant season, yes, with the Connor Stallions. Who knows how much that had to play in a lot of those wins, but nonetheless, they didn't take the trophy away. So you come into this season as the national champ in a really bumpy season. 5 losses, but really to get that win over Ohio State and then to get this win over Alabama, I mean, you might think 7 losses with those 2 games on the schedule. But you, like I said, you just got to give a lot of credit to that Michigan defense and their offense doing just enough. It was not great all year. Really didn't ever look too impressive outside of that Ohio State game. But Alabama, man, just it's kind of fair to say the dynasty's over with them. SEC is just going to look different. Not only, you know, the teams of the past that have been there, there's also Oklahoma, the additions they brought in. Oklahoma lost to Navy in their bowl game. Now, Navy, another good team, but there's another example of an SEC team losing in the bowl game. So we're in the era of these major conferences, the 2 big boys being the SEC and the Big Ten. And if right now, if you're in the Big Ten, you're probably feeling a little bit better just because the SEC, it's going to have some changeover as to who the top dogs are going to be. It kind of feels wide open now. Even Georgia, who's still got their bid to go ahead and make a run for the national championship, has been kind of up and down. I thought this was going to be the year where Georgia just flat out dominates. but they weren't able, ironically, to really take hold of that position with the flailing Alabama team this year. Now they're still in it. Like I said, they could win the national championship. And this point completely doesn't matter if they're hosting a national championship trophy over their head. But it has just been a year for the SEC where I couldn't tell you who the best teams are. I couldn't tell you who the best team is in college football right now. We'll talk about the Penn State game in Boise State, the first game to get to the semifinals for the college football playoffs. You got the one game tonight, and then New Year's Day, we get 3 of them. So luckily for everybody, most people, I should say, got the day off. You can sit back, put the feet up, and you got 3 hopefully awesome college football games heading your way. But you do got the first one tonight. And even tonight, Penn State blew out SMU. Was not close. The score is a little bit misleading because if you look at the score, you're like, man, Drew Aller, that Penn State offense must be something to watch. Not really. In that SMU game, like, it was SMU really just turning the ball over. I mean, you give away a pick six, a few other, another interception. It might have been 2 pick sixes. I can't remember, but I'll say this much. SMU realistically gave up about 7 points at the end of that first half. And the way it went was just Penn State's defense was really winning the game for them. SMU's defense was fine. I can see a game today where if Boise State just takes care of the ball, which they're pretty good at all year, especially when you got a offense that's predicated around handing the ball off to Genty for up to 300 carries on the year. If they take care of the ball, I can see a situation where even Boise State's able to pull this one out versus Penn State. Not going to bet on it, but it is one of those things where last time I looked, the spread's 12.5. The spread for this Michigan-Alabama game was 16.5. We've seen these spreads all year just be completely off. So we're kind of also in this point of college football where I don't know if the upsets are just going to be more frequent. I think when you mix in NIL, and we're not just talking, hey, I'll help you pay for some of your meals. You know, you can come to this local diner, burgers on me until you graduate. No, we're talking, everybody knows it, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some kids making all the way up to $1 million. They're also 18, right? That kids aren't going to be super wise with their time. Not all of them. I should say some kids are better than me. They're going to be wiser with their time and their money. But when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you get handed an insane amount of money. Also in the era of social media, where if you want to feel good about yourself and you're a Division I athlete playing the sport of football at a reasonably big university, you're going to get all the type of love on social media as well. It doesn't take much. You put out a tweet because you represent the university. You're going to get a lot of likes, follows. There's just a lot of things to pull your mind away from the X's and O's and what you're really there to do. And I do wonder if that's kind of part of the upsets we're seeing this year. Is it's not that the kids are worse kids than what they were in the past. It's just there's a million things to get distracted on. You know, we're seeing it already with some players. You know, before the season's over, they're thinking about the next school they can go play at. Before even sitting back there and just kind of going through the tough process of thinking why it didn't work and never even going through the conversation yourself. And maybe the reason it didn't work was you. But, you know, it's just kind of the era, and it's not all the kids' fault. You got agents getting in their ears, coaches calling them up early, just a weird version of tampering, really just kind of pulling at these kids' tailcoats all year. Kind of feels like trying to grab them away from programs. How bad is that? I don't think we'll ever really know. There's a billion ways to hide communications now. Not every coach does it. I'm sure most don't, but there's also a ton of them that do. And when you have that stuff, we're so far away from that true collegiate atmosphere. The distractions are up. The money is kind of in the mind of a lot of players, I think, and you can't necessarily blame them. And just the other schools, the constant thought of, hey, this coach over here said they liked me the year before. They're still keeping in contact with me. Maybe before the season's even over, I think about heading over to the University of Tennessee or whatever. You can pick a school. I'm just using them as an example. I do think these upsets are just going to keep happening at a more rampant rate, just simply because of the amount of distractions we've added to the college football game. You can't just be a dynasty like Alabama anymore. Alabama had a fully ironed out, polished dynasty before NIL got into the mix. As soon as NIL got into the mix, in some ways it was good. It kind of broke up the monopoly that these dynasties had. In some ways, it kind of broke college football because now to build a dynasty it almost feels borderline impossible. Like, you're going to have great coaches and great programs, but to be in and out every year dominant, I don't know if we'll see that to the extent of what we saw with Nick Saban in Alabama. We'll still see it with Georgia. They'll have years where they flat out dominate. We'll probably, if Michigan gets the right coach, if Moore is that right coach, we're going to see it from Michigan. We might even see it from Nebraska if we're fortunate enough. But with the transfer portal, and now you also got the 105 roster limit, maybe that actually helps things, is the hope there. But you're kind of just tied to hoping the guys that you got in the building are going to want to stick out through the entire process. And part of that's on you as recruiting. But at the same time, there's not much you can do when a kid's getting offered 3 times the amount of money that you were willing to offer them, because that's kind of what the NIL collective you've had gathered. It just adds a whole nother layer of making it really hard to maintain a program year in, year out when you got new guys coming in every year, and some of the guys that you may have thought have been a staple of the program end up transferring out that year. And it could be for reasons that aren't even money, that aren't even coaching. Fortunate enough to do a lot of the student athlete shows here. You'd be amazed how many times student athletes want to transfer out of the university, not because of bad coaches, not because of money, not because they had any sort of bad experience, simply just because they want a new experience. Nothing but good things to say about Nebraska and the time they had there, why they're transferring, simply just to see something new. Because again, these are kids. Like, they're gonna, if you have the opportunity to go over to a university in California and you've never been to California, you've spent your entire life in the Midwest, that sounds pretty good, especially if they're going to hand you a bag of money along with it. And who knows what else is going to fall into that NAL packaging. All that stuff just kind of adds up and kind of wrap things up and try to bundle it up here in a neat package. Keeping a dominant dynasty program feels like it's going to be a thing of the past. You will see consistently good programs. Your Ohio State's going to be good consistently. Your Oregon, your Georgia. But I don't think you're going to have a Bama, where it's just like every year, they're going to be in that national championship game, and more often than not, they're going to go and win it. Nick Saban's dynasty is unreal. And not only is it unreal because it's rare, but also it kind of feels impossible today. And that's kind of the best way I could say it as we're looking at these college football playoff games, as we saw all these bowl games today, Michigan beating Alabama, all these SEC teams. We saw Illinois beat South Carolina. Also interesting interactions between Brett Bielema and Beamer, two of the more disliked coaches, I guess, according to Twitter today. Those guys got after it. And that was a South Carolina team that really wanted to win that ball game, but Illinois, Big Ten, something about the Big Ten this year actually came out on top. And we're just seeing more and more games to prove it. Even the Tennessee game in the college football playoffs, I had Tennessee circled as a dark horse. And as a guy who loves the Big Ten, I think I even caught myself maybe thinking too highly of the SEC this year, because I thought Tennessee was a legitimate dark horse to go ahead and make a run for the college football national championship. And they lost the most out of anybody on that first day of the college football playoffs. And none of the games on day one were close in the college football playoffs. So for Tennessee to have the worst spread, again, I think I kind of fell into that trap myself, maybe watching too much ESPN, giving the SEC a little bit too much credit. And we're going to see what it shakes out to. What Georgia does is kind of their last, well, I shouldn't say that. You got Texas as well. So you're looking at Georgia and Texas to kind of pull the SEC's weight. And hopefully, if you're an SEC fan, you get one of those teams in there. Otherwise, you're good chance we're looking at Ohio State, Penn State. You got Oregon in there. Texas kind of feels like the strong one. I don't, as much as I want to root for Sam Leavitt and the Arizona State Sun Devils, that one to me seems like the most unlikely outcome is Texas losing to Arizona State. So you'll probably get Texas in there, but still, you look at that, and it's a fantastic year for the Big Ten, because the Big Ten at least plays 9 conference games. The SEC only plays 8. And the SEC still found a way to cannibalize cannibalizing themselves this year with only 8 games, conference games. So they're, you'll see it every year. That's how you get Alabama and Mercer, very late in the year, and you're wondering, like, why the hell is this game even on? Why is Alabama scheduling this team? Well, SEC has just always done that. So it was kind of fantastic to watch this year. Despite playing one less conference game, they still managed to cannibalize themselves more than the Big Ten did. And the Big Ten always plays 9. You also think that would give the Big Ten a little bit more favor when they do these rankings, but it's always kind of been the SEC getting the nod and tip of the cap. So we'll find out. Texas and Georgia do, kind of the last strengths of the SEC this year. And then, of course, looking too far ahead as we kind of wrap up this first segment here, I don't know what the SEC is going to look like next year. You can kind of circle Georgia's going to be good. Missouri only beat Iowa by 3. Missouri, every time I'm ready to circle them, this is the year they're going to make the breakthrough. They have another year like this year. I thought Missouri was going to be a legitimate threat amongst Georgia, Ole Miss, Bama. And it was there for them. Like we just kind of talked about it, right? Like Bama's completely out. Yes, they got the bias. They were constantly ranked too high, but they still were losing games. You could have caught up. South Carolina was able to beat up on them. And really nobody was able to take advantage of it. Even Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, you're like, maybe this is the year for them. Nope. They kind of struggle with it. The opportunity's there for them to kind of get up there, at least with Georgia, be what Alabama was last year. And they fall flat on their face as well. So who knows what it's going to look like next year in the SEC when it comes to football, if any of those teams, if Alabama continues to drop, because again, you're talking the era of NIL, Saban's not there. You just lost to Michigan in the Reliquest Bowl, a 5-loss Michigan team at that. What's the buy-in of Alabama now? It's still going to be good. It's still a major university, but you're no longer going to have quite that allure to get those 5-star players. Like even if Saban was still the coach, he probably could deal with NIL and he probably even pay less on some of the players he wanted to. Not that he wouldn't have the money, but simply because the guys would go to Saban because he's just got the NFL express. He knows how to get guys there. He knows how to develop them. If you're a 5-star, even if you don't play right away, Saban's always kind of had a plan to eventually you'll get your run, but you got to stick it out through this process. But the board just kind of feels like that luster, even though, it's only been a year, it doesn't take very long for that stuff to go away. It takes forever to garner that respect. It takes a blink of an eye to lose all of it. Alabama, yeah, they're still going to get good recruits. They're just not going to have that same power that they used to really sway guys unless they want to do it with money, which is kind of what everybody's doing right now anyway. So that being said, we'll throw it to break here. It's kind of my long rant on the college football playoffs, really on the SEC struggling in a way that I don't think anybody anticipated. Even all the SEC haters could have anticipated. Just truly incredible seeing Michigan beat Alabama today. And then, of course, Illinois beats South Carolina in their Citrus Bowl. Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, excuse me. So we'll throw it to break. On the other side, we'll talk some Husker hoops there. Again, as me and Austin Orman, we had the post-game show yesterday. They beat the Southern Jaguars, do it pretty convincingly. We'll quick dive into that, but we'll really talk down the long road what the Huskers have coming up ahead. They got some big games, officially starting conference play, and kind of where they're at, some of these rankings. So don't go anywhere. We'll keep it rolling. This is Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arens going solo all the way up until 7 o'clock on New Year's Eve. We'll talk to you on the other side.
At Farm Bureau Financial Services, we strive to provide you with the right coverages for all your insurance needs by taking the time to meet with you and review what coverages best fit your needs. So whether you're in the market for home, auto, farm, business, life, or a combination of any of these coverages, we can help with making sure you, your family, or your business have the right coverage based on your individual needs. If you would like to review your insurance needs, please contact Ben Spurt with Farm Bureau Financial Services at 402-217-9945 or through email at ben.spurt@fbfs.com.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? Do you need a lawyer you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion? The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Contact us for a free consultation by calling 877-42-LIBERTY. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Liberty Law Group, trial attorneys you can trust.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl, Jordan, with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk commitment. And what better way to do that than with some shiny, sparkly jewelry? Am I right? Now, I'm not suggesting you have to rush, but if you're considering making a significant move, do your planning. We offer financing and payment plans. Lock down your selection with confidence. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
This is Trooper Keith Bell of the Nebraska State Patrol. The holiday season is here, and Nebraskans will be traveling near and far. This time of year is wonderful for spending time with family, but it takes safe roadways to make sure every seat is filled at the family table. As you gather during the holidays, always make sure to have a sober driver if your celebrations involve alcohol. Together, let's make the holiday season bright for families across Nebraska. Thank you and drive safely.
This message presented by the Nebraska State Patrol, the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
As a teacher and a parent, I know that a key ingredient to student success is parental involvement. I'm Tim Royers, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Read to your young child and then ask them what they think of the story. Talk about school and current events with your teenager. Encourage them to become involved in school activities or to volunteer in the community. And watch for those teachable moments at home. Working together, we can help every child succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I used to smoke. I thought of cigarettes as my best friend.
They were always there for me when I needed a break.
I also thought cigarettes were my best friend, and then they gave me peripheral artery disease.
I smoked and had a stroke. Actually, multiple strokes.
I smoked and have heart disease.
Here's my tip. If cigarettes are your friend, you need a better friend.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Looking for a financial partner that truly makes a difference? Modern Woodman is a member-owned fraternal financial services organization. We can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Second segment, going solo here all the way up until 7 o'clock before we throw things over to the Dome Punt Hour. Like I said, we'll have Good Morning Pierce Snell, former Husker, join me as always. 402-464-5685. That is the Sartor Heyman text line. You guys can join in. And I'll ask you guys this. Who do you got tonight? We got number 4, Penn State versus number 9, Boise State. First game for this round of the college football playoffs. Decide who makes it to the semifinals. I believe the spread is 12.5, obviously favoring Penn State. That one should be a good one. Obviously, the key for Penn State is, can you stop Ashton Genty? Nobody's been able to do it yet. And if it's, Boise State, I think the goal for them is, can you run the ball? Penn State's defense is incredible. It's top 10 nationally. I think in stopping the run specifically, they're 4. So it's kind of a battle of strengths there. The strength of Boise State is obviously run the ball, and the strength of Penn State is we're good at stopping the run. So we'll really see what happens. It's an intriguing matchup if it is truly a battle of strength where it's neck and neck at who's good at what or who's better at doing what, I should say. If it's one of those, though, where Penn State's able to kind of just shut down the run game right away, if they're able to stop Genty, I mean, it's going to be another one of those games where you might kind of doze off at halftime. I do expect it to be somewhat close, though. I'd actually probably go against the spread here. I think it might be closer than 12.5. But again, that's all just betting on really not turning the ball over here for Boise State and having some success running the ball. I don't expect Genty to go on his usual rampage, but he's got to rush for over 100 yards if they're going to have any shot at winning this game. Because like I said, in the SMU game, it really wasn't the Penn State offense that was overly impressive. SMU was doing a good job getting stops, forcing Penn State to punt. The problem for SMU was they're just Jennings, their quarterback, was coughing the ball up left and right. Like I said earlier, he had the pick six, so things just kind of got away from him. If you actually looked at SMU's defense, they kind of kept them in the game the entire time. The problem was the offense was giving points away. So just kind of too late for SMU there. But I do, Penn State's look dominant at times, but there is something about Boise State where you can't just write them off. They did win a ton of games. And like I said, no one's really been able to stop Genty once yet. All right, let's talk some Husker hoops here. If you're listening yesterday, you might have heard me and Austin Norman. We had the post-game show. Didn't go terribly long, though. Obviously, a late game. I think we wrapped up at about 11 p.m. We do got Augie chiming in here saying Boise State shocks the football world. I'd love to see that. And I think most college football fans would. Today's kind of been a shock the world day. So maybe he's on to something, right? We did see, I like to keep saying it. Never thought I'd be so happy over a Michigan win, but we got to see Michigan beat Alabama. So maybe it is a day of miracles. Maybe you do see Boise State beat Penn State. And we're kind of at a point now, too, where I think the Big Ten representation looks pretty good. Like, even if you get Texas or Georgia to win it all, SEC will get to kind of somewhat get their pride back. But really, the rest of the conference took such a beating this year that I'm okay if, the Big Ten team in Penn State drops in some sort of miracle fashion. All right, like I said, let's talk Husker hoops here. You might have heard me and Austin talk about yesterday. We're going to talk about a little bit more because we did see Andy Katz just named Bryce Williams the National Player of the Week, and he deserves it. Bryce Williams, even though yesterday, I look at his stats real quick, he wasn't absolutely dominant, but as one of those games, he didn't need to be. If he was dominant, you'd be kind of wondering why. If it looked like he was forcing it. So yesterday, again, Nebraska wins it 77-43, obviously at home versus Southern Jaguars. But Bryce Williams, National Player of the Week at that, he was 3 for 5 on the night. So he only took 5 shots, but he did have 11 points, 5 turnovers as well. Eula's still being out at that point guard position. He has to take a lot more of those playmaking abilities. And Southern, for all things, you give them credit for that. They are actually good at causing turnovers. First half, you didn't see that. Second half, you saw that. Also, I think a little bit of Nebraska relaxing a little bit too much. We'll talk about that in the second half of this game. And then really is just kind of an all-around performance. You got Raleigh Wooster, who it was good to see him make a 3-point shot. He was really struggling all year. Yesterday, he was 2 for 3. So it was good to see him find the bottom of the net there on that deep ball. Braxton Mia, he gives you 3 points. Juwan Gary gives you 9. Burke Bear-Utengel, kind of become one of my favorite players on this roster just by the way he plays. He gives you 6 points, and then the bench gives you a lot of work. Andrew Morgan gives you 10. But Connor Esiason was really his day, was probably the biggest storyline in that one. 6 for 13, 6 for 12. So 50% from the 3-point line, gives you 2 free throws as well. 100% there. 6 rebounds, 6 rebounds though, for a total of 20 points. Sam Hoiberg gives you 2. Gavin Griffiths has his little highlight at the end there, gives you a quick 8 points to wrap up the game. So those are kind of just an all-around performance. That's your stat sheet of the Huskers yesterday. Really, Southern didn't have anything interesting going on. They just kind of struggled all day long. To give you an idea, from the 3-point line itself, they were 3 for 24. So that's good for about 12.5% from the 3-point line. It's something Nebraska does well. And I don't know why teams allow themselves to fall into that trap. We saw it with Creighton. If you're not going to find the weak side of the court and give yourself an uncontested 3, like, you got to be okay just shooting awful the entire night or hoping you get hot enough to where it doesn't matter. You saw that with Creighton. I don't know what it was with Creighton. And I think they've gotten a lot better since us, because again, when we played Creighton on their court, and the series between us and Creighton's kind of been bizarre. It's whoever's hosting is getting the lights kicked out of them. I mean, it's been bizarre these past 3 years, but it was this year was Creighton to get their butts kicked on their home court. So that's exactly what Nebraska went and did. And the strangest thing you saw in that game was Creighton's absolute refusal to get the ball inside, to just cut off of anything. Kalkbrenner was not even like he was bad. He just wasn't utilized. When you have one of the best players in the Big East and Kalkbrenner, you got to get him involved. Instead, they chose to take a lot of contested threes, or if it's uncontested, just a really deep three. That's why it's uncontested. There's a few times where they did manage to get it to that weak side. Because if you watch Nebraska basketball, you'll see it. They're really good at just kind of loading up one side of the ball, and you'll see it all the time. They're kind of baiting you into those skip passes. The key to getting that skip pass, though, is you got to be quick with it. You catch teams all the time. Yesterday, you saw it a lot. In the entire Diamond Head Classic, you saw it the entire tournament. Guys like Juwan Gary, Bryce Williams, they got long wingspans. They're waiting. They know what the other team's looking for to break that Nebraska defense. They know they're looking for that skip pass as well, but they're just not quick enough with it for whatever reason. So you'll kind of see guys like Juwan Gary, Bryce Williams, they'll bait them into it. Kind of wait, to act like you're not really paying attention. They try to get the skip pass over the top. Here comes Bryce Williams. I mean, we got one thing about this team is we got a really big and tall roster. So it really fits well with this defense that Hoiberg and company have been running. And, you know, that's the other thing. You give a ton of credit to Hoiberg, but you got to give credit to the players. I've been really surprised with Fred Hoiberg's ability to just kind of, I don't want to say completely change his philosophy, but certainly adapt. I mean, you got to think this is a guy, when he started at Iowa State at that head coaching position, he was credited for being this offensive-minded guru. The Chicago Bulls, good enough to get to the NBA. And the NBA, you hear that same conversation. So now you're hearing professional coaches kind of speak on Fred Hoiberg, really for his offensive mind and how he's just taken the game to a new level. That's how he got the success with Iowa State, and with the Chicago Bulls. You can make what you will with the Chicago Bulls run. Wasn't necessarily a bad run by any means, but in the NBA, you get great coaches all the time. It's just tough to win in the NBA. Everybody's good. A million things can happen. Contracts matter. Management matters. The coach is a lot less in control than they are in college. But either way, so you get all this, the history of Hoiberg being this offensive-minded guru. He comes to Nebraska. You're seeing a lot of the 5-out, the stuff that you expected to see from an offensive-minded guy. And then as it's gone on, we've just gotten better on defense and really decided to lock in on that end of the court more, kind of identifying that as the strength and how we're able to win so many of these games. And then on the flip side of that, you give credit to the players for buying into it. Defense is a hard thing to sell in basketball. It's why you love a guy like Lou Dort in the NBA if he's on your team. It's why if you're a Warrior fan, you like Draymond Green because he plays really good defense. You probably don't like, the antics and the technicals, but, by all intents, he is a good defender. He's getting older, not nearly as good as what he used to be in the past, but in his prime, say what you will about Draymond Green. He was a fantastic defender. When you have players like that, it makes life a million times easier. When you have the entire roster wired to really communicate and just play good quality defense, that's impressive because it's not even a defense that's super fun. If you guys remember last time Baylor won March Madness, you remember that defense was the reason they won it. And what that defense was, and Austin Orman brought this up yesterday, that defense was picking you up at full court. They were jumping the passing lanes. They were incredibly aggressive. That's kind of at least a fun defense to practice and play. The Nebraska defense is impressive, and why it's so impressive on the buy-in from the guys. It's not that we're going to get up on you, full court press. We're going to really, hound you, try to poke the ball out every opportunity we get. Really, it's just kind of waiting to tempt you into maybe a bad pass, and force a shot clock violation, or just a bad shot at the end of the clock. And that's kind of why you see Nebraska in a lot of these low-scoring games too. They let the team work through that entire clock by being really patient, by kind of overloading on one side of the ball. And again, like I said earlier, they're baiting that skip pass with Juwan Gary and Bryce Williams. And, if we're going to use yesterday's example, if you're Southern and you're not quick enough with that pass, that's turnover if you go for that skip pass. And if you get it right away and you get it out, you understand what Nebraska's doing, you're probably getting a good shot at a wide open three. But it's just those little hesitations, and it's the size of Nebraska that makes for a lot of those hesitations, right? When you got Burke, Ugton, Braxton, Mia, even a guy like Raleigh Wooster, who isn't necessarily a tall guard by any means, he's at least strong and physical, and he's going to contest every time. And of course, Juwan Gary, he's a phenomenal defense player, probably the best two-way player we got on the team. And then Bryce Williams, yes, an offensive savant for the Huskers this year, but defensively just as committed. He's not, going to be an elite shot blocker or picking off a lot of steals, but he's just going to keep you in front. And he's got long enough arms to where if you don't get an open shot, like that's a tall tree to try to shoot over. And that's how you get to Southern's 3-point percentage yesterday at a whopping just over 12% by forcing contested threes over and over and over. And then when they do try to drive inside, it helps when you got a guy like Braxton Mia, and then a guy like Burke who can rotate over. They just do a really good job on knowing where that help's going to be. And to me, that's been the most impressive part. When you go through Ken Palm, you want to go through any of these rankings, what's going to stick out to you is, yes, Nebraska's ranking is currently slotted into, it will be a March Madness team. Plenty of ball left, though. You got conference games yet down the slate here. But what you really see is Nebraska's defense is like, on paper, a top 10 defense right now. Some rankings like top 15, some top 10. But the point is like this defense, which I thought was electric last year and the real strength of the team, has gotten even better. And on top of getting better, we found a way to replace Keisei Tamanaga with a guy like Connor Sejan, who, I didn't think it was going to be that explosive. But man, he's really turned around. Great freshman year at Wisconsin, sophomore, and he sees a dippage and playing time. And then this year just fits like a glove at Nebraska. So we found a way to kind of fill that 3-point shooting void in Keisei Tamanaga, but you're also seeing just an even more elite version of Bryce Williams. And then Juwan Gary just continues to be Juwan Gary. I mean, he was great last year. He's great again this year. And even better, he's found his 3-point shot this year. Was not shooting the ball from the 3-point land that well last year. This year, he's found that. And then, of course, the additions of Braxton Mia and then Burke Ugton. That's a guy who wasn't really sure out of Turkey what we're going to get with him. Not necessarily the best offensive player. He's got some good moves. It's just kind of consistency with shooting numbers. But if you need to get a shot, he's not like Rudy Gobert down there where if he has to make a move, he's got moves in his arsenal, right? He's not just turn around, I'm taller, kind of just huck it up there and hope it goes in. No, he's got an arsenal of moves. It's just the consistency of knocking them down. But what he does so well is his playmaking. He's a great playmaker. And you see that a lot, especially when you see Andrew Morgan and Burke Ugton both in the game together. I think those guys just play phenomenally off that high and low connection. But man, there's just a lot of good things for Husker basketball. And you hope it continues because you got a big game versus UCLA. That's your next one. You ranked UCLA at that. Big Ten opponent, UCLA at that. So this one means quite a bit because last time you played a really competent opponent was Michigan State and they beat the brakes off you. You got back Indiana, good team. You beat them pretty convincingly. Now this is another game where, if you want to be the team that finally moved the metric for Husker basketball, we say it all the time. Either A, you got to win. This isn't. You have to win a March Madness game at some point. But to do that, you also got to get the confidence during the regular season. You get that confidence by beating a very good UCLA team. So that's what they got on the slate next. And what we got on the slate next is our last break here. I've been going solo. We'll switch it over. We'll talk NFL on that third final segment so we can go ahead and cross everything here. So don't go anywhere. Take a Weeknights with Harrison Arens on the ones and twos. Back here solo at 1040 O Street. I'll talk to you on the other side.
Every home is different. Every family is different. So when it comes to a new heating and cooling system, why not get what fits you best? Get the perfect fit with Bryant. Maybe you need higher efficiency, better humidity control, increased warranty, or all the bells and whistles. Bryant provides options in warranty, brand, comfort, and efficiency while maximizing savings. Call 467-1111 or visit BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
New year, new you? Barrel's Extreme Body Shaping can help make sure you keep that resolution this time. Our proven system combines kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition, along with our expert coaching to make sure you're moving forward toward your goals. The next 10-week challenge starts January 11th, but if you enroll now, you can start today and get a head start on those gains for no extra cost. Plus, head to fxblincoln.com and you can save $100. Don't wait. Barrel's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill and 70th and Vine.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
If you're a veteran, our nation has created a wide range of benefits to thank you for your service, but it can be difficult to navigate the process of determining eligibility, filing claims, appealing decisions, and securing the benefits you've earned. Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. These services are 100% free, so visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and the holiday sales event is now underway with unbelievably low interest rates and huge discounts on both our new and pre-owned inventory. Right now, we're offering 0% interest rates or $13,000 off select new models. These are the absolute biggest discounts of the year. You heard right, 0% interest rates or $13,000 off select new models. So please stop on in or check us out online at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit, must trade, and Costco.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith. Innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Outside is where winter adventure unfolds. On frozen lakes, icy landscapes, and snow-covered slopes. Feeling the cold air rush by as you race downhill. The freedom of gliding with ease and the warmth of being together. From epic sled rides to the fun of ice fishing, it's all right here beneath Nebraska skies. Start your winter adventure at yournebraskaparks.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Associations and this station.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, final segment here, going solo before we bring in the morning personnel for that 7 to 8 o'clock hour. And again, 402-464-5685. If you guys want to join in, that is the Sardo Heyman text line for you on this New Year's Eve. And quick, want to shout out everybody here for listening. It's been a fantastic year at the Ticket. Hope you have a good New Year's Eve. Be safe, especially, if you're drinking out there. It's one of those nights where people are still pretty intoxicated past midnight, obvious reasons. So make sure you get an Uber if you're one of those people. Keep everybody safe. Enjoy the night and celebrate the year. And we'll look forward to 2025. All right. That's my quick sweet spot to shout out the New Year's. I do want to talk NFL. We got 1 week left of the regular season, and then we only got 2 spots left open. And for each side in the NFC and AFC, looks like you're very likely going to have the Buccaneers sliding in there, and then most likely the Bengals as well. Everybody else pretty much out of the picture. Sitting here, it feels like the Lions got to be the team to finally break through this year. Even though you're still worried about the Chiefs, because it is, even though the way they've won games this year has been felt very lucky at times. I'm not even going to say rigged. They truly just felt lucky. I mean, those plays are so bizarre how it keeps happening for them the way it has this year. But it's always kind of like, it's the LeBron James effect for me. It's even if you want to go into the playoffs, you're looking at the Lakers and you're like, well, it's not a good year for the Lakers. If LeBron's on that roster, especially in years prior, not so much of this later version of him, if he's on that roster, you're never going to circle that as like, oh, okay, yeah, we should have this one in the bag. When you're playing Andy Reid, you got to put in that concoction too, just knows how to win football games. It's hard to count those guys out. And then you also got the Vikings. I'll be honest, I thought this thing would at some point in time see the wheels fly off a little bit. I'm not even talking about a full-on meltdown, but just, okay, fall back to somewhat of the average. And they have just continued to be a phenomenal team. And to bring Sam Darnold out of the depths of wherever he was at after everything he had to go through with the Jets, and then obviously just trying to find a home somewhere where a team's going to trust him and he's going to have the opportunity. Where the Vikings, it's not like that opportunity was originally there for him, but obviously you see McCarthy get hurt. It opens up the door for Darnold, and he's making himself a hell of a lot of money this year. I mean, he's shown that he can do it at an elite level, and you give credit not only to him, but just the entire coaching staff. I think that's going to be the hard part of the year is for the awards. The hardest award to give this year is who gets coach of the year. You're looking at the Vikings. You're looking at the Lions. You might even be looking at the Commanders because they've had a hell of a turnaround. Like, for me, you almost have to give it to the Vikings, which is crazy. But when you lose your starting quarterback like that, I can't even remember I think it was preseason it happened, and it was pretty close to the start of the season. That's a hell of a turnaround, not only to be able to plug and play him, but clearly it's like he was getting coached up the right way, because when he plugged into the system, it's not like he didn't know what the hell he was doing. So they had a real plan for Sam Darnold, and I think you almost have to give it to them for the season they're having, especially in what is an incredibly talented NFC North. And the Vikings just really beat up on the Packers and did it pretty convincingly. Well, the game was not close. You might have to go then. But if you give it to Dan Campbell, I'm not going to be mad either. If you give it to the Lions, and at the same time, if you give it to the Commanders, as a Bears fan, I don't like it just because of what the Commanders did to have not won a game since that Hail Mary. But at the same time, I can understand it as well. It's been an incredible year for the NFL. And, it's kind of where I wrap up here before we switch things over to the Don't Punt Hour. NFL this year is one of the best years of the NFL I've been able to watch in a long time. This has been just a really fun year. When you look at how good Josh Allen's been, the Bengals and Joe Burrow, it's the Bengals. They got to figure out a way to win something for Joe Burrow, because he is so damn good. And he's really, once again, just putting on a phenomenal season. And he does it all the time with an offensive line that at one point in time just didn't have anybody, and other points of time is incredibly hurt, and he's constantly getting pressured. He finds a way to get that team, just drag them just enough to make their way, at least for a chance in the playoffs. He's doing it again this year. And then, of course, Josh Allen in the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's just been on an absolute tear this year. And then you do got Sam Darnold, the feel-good stories, Lions and the Vikings. And, you look at the rookie QBs as well. The only one that hasn't necessarily looked impressive is Caleb Williams. It's more so just the Chicago Bears franchise, just kind of a dumpster fire right now. I don't think they know what direction they want to go. But if that's the case, you're rarely going to have success at the quarterback position. But then you look across everybody else, like who would have thought the Broncos would have been such an intriguing story this year in Bo Nix. But it feels like the NFL maybe just had one of those draft classes where you got in a bunch of really good young QBs and just skill position guys. And now you equip that to seeing the greats of Allen. Even the Eagles are having a great year with Saquon Barkley. You're seeing Derrick Henry have a great end to his career with the Ravens. You're seeing a lot of your favorite kind of veteran players have fantastic seasons. Even, Thielen, it sucks he's on the Panthers, but Adam Thielen kind of having a hell of a year himself too. I think, a lot of people kind of forget where he's even at. No longer with the Vikings, but it's like if you're my age in the 20s, you're seeing a lot of your favorite veteran players have these phenomenal years, but you're also really intrigued by these group of young guys coming into the NFL. So the NFL feels like it's one of the best spots it's been in ever, which, maybe isn't that impressive because the amount of money they bring in, it's like every year is kind of a new ceiling for them. So with that being said, we'll wrap it up there. Kind of my thoughts on the NFL. If I had to pick anybody, I'd probably pick the Lions. Don't feel good about it though, as we're talking about Super Bowl favorites here at the beginning. Like I said, though, that's going to wrap it up for me, though. Went solo there for that hour. Good morning, Pearson will join me for the next hour. We'll probably talk a lot of college football there, some Husker sports as well. Appreciate you guys listening. Don't go anywhere yet, though, as we got one more show left for you here on New Year's Eve. Don't Punt Hour up next.